to Beach Investing. I'm your host, Andre Angelkowski. We're here in Etobicoke. We're in the prime beaches in Toronto, and we're about to look at the most ideal beach property. Hey everyone, and welcome to Beach Investing. I'm your host, Andre Angelkowski. We're in video 6 of the One and Done video series, and today we're going to be talking about cost versus value. So what I mean by that, there's a few things that we'll be talking about today. First is the tangible and intangible return on investment, how it's measured. So when we talk about tangible, I'm talking about cash flow and equity growth. Those are actual tangible things that you can measure. When I talk about the intangible, I'm talking about attracting good tenants who will likely stay longer, and that means less turnover and more peace of mind to you. So those are some of the ways that we can measure the return on investment. Now, some of the renovations, I believe, that have the most emotional impact and biggest return on investment in the Toronto beaches and its surrounding area are the following items. So, adding extra floor space or bedrooms. When you can convert a bungalow, for example, or any house from a 2-bedroom to a 3-bedroom, that will actually increase the value a lot more than the cost, generally speaking, because the demand for a 3-bedroom versus a 2-bedroom is a lot higher. And the same applies from a 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom. But then when you start increasing it from a 4 to a 5, you're not going to get that much more because there's less demand going from a 4-bedroom to a 5-bedroom. Then we go to open concept living space. So basically the layout that you create in your house. Now, whether this is for apartments, whether this is for an actual house that you're building or renovating, the layout matters a lot. So you want to tailor it to what is the most trendiest at that time. And generally speaking, open concept has been the most popular, but it does matter where you put your rooms and where your kitchen goes, and making sure that the open concept actually flows properly versus making it the kitchen on one side of the entire wall and then the living room on the opposite side of the wall, which does not make sense in a practical sense. Creating a new kitchen. That is an obvious one. There's not really much to explain there other than making the kitchen very attractive and emotionally hot. Like you, your spouse, they're gonna see it, they're gonna want it now. That's the kind of impact you wanna create. One of my favorites is a spa-like bathroom. Whenever I go into a house, I wanna see that spa-like bathroom, especially the rain shower head. I love showers, I'm not a bath person, but some people are. So you wanna be able to create that bath as well, not just a shower. But when I see an incredible, large, sexy shower, I'm all over it. I want it. I actually want to go shower in it. Next one is modern flooring. You don't want to just create the dark floor if it doesn't match with the other decor. So you want to make sure that the flooring matches the rest of your decor, but make it nice, clean, and fresh. Expose brick and beam. This has been a popular renovation for quite some time now, but it never seems to get old. People, when they see the flashy exposed brick, and they're like, wow, it's awesome. It can look ugly if you don't sandblast it properly, or if you don't seal it properly, or if it gives off that really cold feeling. You want it to actually bring beauty. You want it to actually show off and put some lighting towards it and maybe hang up some nice pictures that complements it. Then we head on to the modern and unique lighting. So I cannot actually underestimate this at all. When you walk into an open house and you're looking at the dining room, you're like, okay, yeah, nice table. And if you look up and you see one of those cheap $30 Home Depot lights on top of it, you're like, okay, it's just a dining room. But when you see a flashy, incredible, grand chandelier, that's not just all lights, but it's like unique. It's got that antique look to it, or it's got wood to it. It just makes it look shiny. It makes the room look grand, and you feel like you're in a place that you can call like, wow, this is a show house and I want this. A ton of natural light is another one. So when you walk into a place and you especially a basement apartment, you go in there and it feels like a dungeon because there's no natural light. But if you can create the large window wells that that make the windows a lot larger, that allow in natural light, that will make it not feel like a dungeony basement. And therefore you will get more rent, or you'll get more value when it comes time for selling your property. Natural light does wonders. Skylights, although they could be a pain in the butt because they are a leaking hazard, but you know what? If they're done properly and they're done beautifully, it will get you that return and then some. Professional paint job. This is probably the cheapest yet most effective renovation that you can do that will give you a very good return on your investment. Painting a place will just make it clean, neat, and tidy. Simple as that. Do that for sure at the very least. Giving your apartments ensuite laundry. This will distinguish between the average rental, where you all share a laundry or you have to go to laundromat, versus the ones that have their own private laundry, and you're attracting people who actually care about that, who want their own private laundry, who are willing to pay a premium for their own private laundry. Separate HVAC systems, meaning your own furnace, your own AC, and your own control. So you basically pay for what you consume, not sharing with the rest of the house. And if you're cold or hot, you can adjust it, because we all know in the summer it's too hot upstairs, in the winter it's too cold downstairs. The heat always fluctuates. The main floor is the people that always generally are most comfortable. But if you can give them their own HVAC systems, that will be a big factor for your tenants, who will be very happy with you, and you'll hear a lot less complaints, a lot less turnover, and a lot less expenses because of that turnover. Then we go into separate entrances. If you give people one entrance for all 3 apartments, it's not going to feel like it's their own home. It's going to feel like it's a shared home. But if you give them separate entrances, even though it's a shared home, they will feel like it's their own home. And that warrants more rent. People are willing to pay more for that. Next thing is soundproof insulation. I've heard it. This is probably the biggest complaint from all tenants is, I hear them all the time upstairs. They're noisy. I can hear their TV. I can hear their conversations. I hear them when they're talking. I hear the footsteps. I have a 4-year-old upstairs, downstairs. It never ends. So what's the best thing you can do is soundproof. And there's different ways to do it. If you can do it the best possible way, you will still hear noise. Don't fool yourself. But it will be a lot more quieter, a lot more muffled, and a lot more private. So people will respect that, and they will be willing to pay more for that as well. Probably not as much as you probably think, because people don't really understand how well insulated it is, but it might cost you more, but it will save you frustration in the future and give you some more peace of mind as well. Heated floors in the basement. So whether you put polished concrete floors, or whether you put just regular laminate or vinyl or hardwood, putting heated floors, although it might cost you $5,000 to $10,000 to do this, roughly speaking, the tenants will actually appreciate it. And I've had this happen when I help people rent their basement apartments. The difference between ones that have heated floors versus the ones that don't, you walk in and the tenants, and we prepare and it's heated, and they're like, ooh, this is heated. And it's like right away, they can take their socks off, their shoes off, everything. They're like, I want to lie on this floor. So could you get an extra $100, $200, $300 more a month? Possibly. Is that enough to cover the cost of it? Depends on how much you spent. But it's a consideration to take for the long-term investment, okay? And last but not least, again, these are just a summary, but legality. So I always recommend to legalize your income properties. It will get you more value, especially going from a duplex to a triplex. Legalizing it as a duplex may not necessarily get you the value that it might cost you to get there, because 99% of the houses out there are not legal anyway. But if you can find them that are legal, they will be worth more, because people know they've had to go through a very strict building code and all these other restrictions, rules and regulations to make it legal. So they know it's been done properly. So that's a big value as well. So these are some of the items that I wanted to tell you guys what I believe gives buyers and tenants the biggest emotional impact and biggest ROI on your real estate investment, okay? Then the last thing I want to talk about is control versus no control. And what I mean by that is when you're actually doing a renovation, like the list I just told you, those are things that you can control, okay? Now there's things that you cannot control. So the things that you don't have control over is whether your property has parking, or whether there's a good school in the district, or what school you're backing onto. You don't have much control over how much outdoor space you have, or what type of views your apartment has. You don't have much control over the storage space that your property can offer, or whether you have access to transportation or amenities. You don't have control over what's in that area. But what you do have control over is when you look for properties to make sure that these properties have parking, have good schools, they have storage, or they have access to good transportation like subways, they have good amenities close by. All these things that you don't have control over, but you do have control over where you choose the property that you're going to purchase that will accommodate all these extra things that tenants and buyers are willing to pay a premium for. So this video, again, it helps you determine what is the biggest return on your investment, what gives the tenants and buyers the biggest emotional impact. So I hope this was helpful. Call me for more details. Talk to you soon.